So, a very good morning to all of you. I hope all of you can see and hear me clearly. We are back with another editorial analysis. All of you are very familiar with this process now. The article that I have picked up today is something which will make for very interesting reading. At the same time, it will take some amount of analysis, some amount of close reading to be able to understand what the author wants to say. Right? You will understand it's about if I give you a preview, the article which we are going to take up today is like it's about nonsensical poetry. Right? Nonsensical is a word which I'm using with some amount of caution, because when you read it you'll understand how it can be how it can be enticing, how it can be at the same time quite difficult and complex also. And before we begin with anything else, let me quickly tell you about the YouTube schedule, something which you already probably know about it, right? What is more important here is we should be looking at this as something like a supplement to the preparation that we take up for CAT and other MB entrance exams. In short, it will help you in your preparation, right? Okay. There is this course, if you look at it, for those of you who are preparing for Maharashtra CET, there's a crash course which is launched, right? If you can actually access this course if you subscribe to Gradeup Super. So it's almost like last minute preparations, almost like those who are preparing for it. If you the right strategies, the right amount of preparation, it's like a last minute push. As you can see, it's a crash course, right? And this is the first slide of the article. Now you will be let me tell you this word, there are many references which will be difficult to understand. Read it, I'll explain as far as possible, but also try to use the context and try to find out what it means, right? So I will give you 20-30 seconds to read this. And by the way, as I was telling you, this is from the Hindu Sunday magazine. It's about a certain writer called Sukumar Ray, who is Satyajit Ray's father. Right. So 30 seconds to read and then we will start discussing. I hope everybody is reading it. Take time. Right. And use the context. These are, if you notice, the first phrase which is highlighted is basically derived from Bengali. So you may not know it. Anyway, what is it? I'll tell you. Okay, many of you are asking me questions. Let me address it. First of all, Kisanu is saying, can we sometimes suggest some articles? You can, no problem. You can suggest. Okay, but I do not know how to do it on YouTube as such. वो मुझे पता नहीं, clear नहीं. But if you are a group, if you are a part of the Telegram group, you can share articles. You can suggest, no issues, right? And Aniket, while doing RC, not really able to do the inference questions. If you're not able to do the inference questions, it basically means understanding level थोड़ा सा low है. That is one thing. दूसरा, the other possibility is that you are not able to make out, you are not able to understand the difference between the answer options. So इन दोनों में से कोई reason होगा. So number one is understanding of the passage low हो सकता है. First possible reason. Second possible reason is आंसर ऑप्शंस के बीच में जो फर्क है वो ठीक से नहीं समझ पा रहे हो. So it's very possible that you're reading very fast without understanding much, right? So that is one thing. So किसी दिन whenever we do an article, right, whenever we take up an example, we can do it and see, because such things cannot be discussed without examples. Okay, I hope everybody is reading it, right? Right at the first line, you will find that it is a little bit challenging. What is this Ram Gurur Chana, right? In fact, it is taken from Bengali, right? So, and in fact, it is explained what exactly is this, right? थोड़ा सा उसका features बताया हुआ है. What exactly is it? I will tell you in a short while. Has everybody read it? right? So if you notice, if you look at the first slide is simply a way to introduce this person, this author called Sukumar Ray, right? Now if you notice straight away, देखो राम गरुड़ छाना और the son of ये who are these, basically ये क्या है और what or who are these are creatures for whom laughter is taboo. मतलब laughter is taboo as in laughter is something which is banned. ठीक है? So a funny tale will make them wail. Wail means cry very loudly, right? So Plato was like Ram Guru Charna. By the way, this Ram Guru Charna is basically nothing else but a creation of this Sukumar Ray. These Sukumar Ray used to write nonsensical poetry creations. जैसे जैसे if you notice uh, there is this writer called Lewis Carroll, right? So Lewis Carroll के जो writings है उस type के, right? Nonsensical Alice in Wonderland type के जो writing है, so he used to write things like that. So Ram Guru Chana is one of his creations. These are creatures, right, for whom laughter is not allowed. So he is saying Plato did not like laughter, right? So Plato was upset. Mount Olympus basically is where gods in the Greek tradition used to live. So Plato was of the opinion that men of worth should not be laughing. One wonders what he would make of the venerable. Venerable means respectable. So he is using all these examples to highlight the fact that Sukumar Ray used to write, nonsensical poetry. He is made a part of, his writings are made a syllabus of Calcutta University. And what would somebody like Plato think of it? Just a way to introduce, nothing else. So what do you know from this? We know very clearly that, we are speaking about a certain author called Sukumar Ray who used to write nonsensical verse, nonsensical, works. And think about it. It's like, have you ये देखा होगा ना सबने बचपन में लेविस कैरल का एक बुक है, एक नॉवेल है एलिस इन वंडरलैंड. सो उस टाइप के राइटिंग, ठीक है? सो दैट इज द पॉइंट. एवरीबडी अंडरस्टूड? आई होप एवरीबडी अंडरस्टूड. सबको समझ में आया? आई थिंक ऑल क्लियर अबाउट दिस. सो दिस इज द इंट्रोडक्टरी पॉइंट, इज दैट सुकुमार रे को हाईलाइट करना है, राइट? सो ही हैज बीन इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन दी, his writing has been introduced in the syllabus of Calcutta University, and he used to write nonsensical meaning seemingly nonsensical poetry. All clear, I hope. Shall we look at the next slide? Yes, right. Okay, next slide is this. Okay, next is this. Just look at it. So continuing in the same way, same tone, 20 seconds, and then we will discuss. Everybody is reading it, I hope. Yes. Right. Now let's read. Let's see. Even academic and critic Anand Lal, who runs so this critic, right, sounds a little bemused. What is the meaning of bemused? Bemused basically means confused. A lot of people, in fact, do not know or do not take this word, interpret this word wrongly. Bemused, amused से बहुत अलग है, right? So even critic, even the academic or critic, he basically runs writers workshop, and he is the publisher of Sukumar Ray, right? He sounds a little confused because this type के जो writings है सुकुमार रे के, right, they are very nonsensical. Literature में कैसे study कर सकते हैं, difficult है, right? So then he gives you the reason. University syllabi have a reputation for being prim and proper, right? मतलब serious होना चाहिए, right? Not unlike the Rangaru's lair. So now Rangaru basically again the creatures who are created by, these are like fictional creatures. Sukumar Ray के writings में मिलते हैं, right? So lair basically is their home. Lair is basically used to indicate the place where an animal lives. So Rangaru is more like Rangaru like an animal who cannot laugh, right? So bereft of basically means without or in the absence of. If I say bereft of money, that means पैसे है नहीं. So bereft of sun and air. Why does he call Rangaru's lair bereft of sun and air? Because they cannot laugh. So वहाँ खुशी तो है ही नहीं. Doomed to be a monastery of permanent despair. Monastery क्या है? A place where monks live. So Vaidehi so far is the tone critical. नहीं, critical नहीं, he is humorous. If you कहा critical है, critical बिल्कुल नहीं. First slide में तो he just introduced, right, in a humorous way, right, so, humorous way Sukumar Ray has been introduced in Calcutta University. Critical कैसे है वैदी? critical बिल्कुल नहीं, humorous है, right. For example यहाँ references देखो, Rangaru's lair, right, जहाँ पे हंसना मना है वहाँ पे तो क्या होगा? Monastery of permanent despair. ये सब देखो. What is monastery? Monastery is where monks live. मंक के जो लाइफ है वो बिल्कुल कलरफुल नहीं है, बेजान, बिल्कुल all very strict and very disciplined, no enjoyment, right. Despair basically means sadness. So he's saying that university syllabi, right, university के जो syllabus है, they should be prim and proper, they should be properly strict and disciplined. लेकिन सुकुमार रे की writing ऐसा नहीं है. So he is surprised. Who is surprised? Even Anand Lal is surprised that Sukumar Ray की writing को यूनिवर्सिटी के सिलेबस में कैसे इंक्लूड हो गया. यूनिवर्सिटी के तो बहुत प्रॉपर होते हैं, वहाँ हंसी मजाक तो बिल्कुल चलता नहीं है, राइट. सो दैट इज व्हाट इज द केस. ठीक है, राइट. ऑल क्लियर आई थिंक, राइट. नाउ लेट्स सी. So मुनावर एबे एंड मोनास्ट्री आर वेरी सिमिलर. सो मोनास्ट्री का जो माहौल है वो खुशी कहाँ होगा? वहाँ पे डिसिप्लिन, प्रेयर, वही सब है, राइट. डिसिप्लिन एंड प्रेयर वही सब चलता रहता है, राइट. What is interesting is that they chose the translations by Satyajit Ray. These are transcreations. What do you mean by a transcreation? Transcreation basically means, देखो, जो ओरिजिनल है उसमें से अपने, when the person translates, right, it would be a transcreation if he adds his own thing. If you notice, the explanation is given here, neither literal nor faithful to the original, right, which means सत्यजीत रे ने जब उसको ट्रांसलेट किया तो अपने तरफ से कुछ ऐड कर दिया है. सो ही क्रिएटेड एंड एडेड थिंग्स ऑन हिज ओन आल्सो. ठीक है, राइट. सो yes, Kisanu, bereft of is an idiom, is basically a, so when you say bereft of, it means deprived of, जहाँ पे है नहीं. So if I say bereft of sun and air, मतलब sun and air तो वहाँ है नहीं, हंसी खुशी नहीं है. That is what is the meaning. ठीक है. So you can use it like this also. Bereft of money, bereft of happiness, मतलब deprived of. That thing which comes after bereft of is not present there. Everybody understood this here, right? If you notice, the author is describing Sukumar Ray's writing, right, by saying that beginning में that his writings are included in in Calcutta University. इसके बाद धीरे धीरे he is going to tell you about Sukumar Ray किस टाइप के writings करते हैं, right. So if you notice, clear है सबको? Introductory है, all clear I hope. Shall we move to the next slide? अभी तक सब clear है I hope. Right, let's move to the next slide. Now, so this slide is more descriptive. Now, from this you will know that Satyajit Ray is the son of Sukumar Ray, right? So, Satyajit Ray के जो translations है, उसको ही choose किया है Calcutta University में. And by the way, translation, direct translation नहीं था, उसने अपने तरफ से add किया हुआ है. ठीक है, 20 seconds and then I will start discussing it. This is something which is very descriptive, so I think there's nothing much to read here, right? So Satyajit Ray has written that he knew his father. So now you know Sukumar is Satyajit's father. Satyajit Ray, the well-known filmmaker. So he did not know his father, as in he saw very little of him. Writings and illustrations, a volume of drafts. So through his writings, notice the quotation. The quote basically means these are Satyajit Ray's own words. So Satyajit Ray knew his father through his father's writings and the accounts of family members. Sukumar was a pioneer in photography and lithography. What is lithography? Litho basically means stone and graph is writing or marking. Now lithography is nothing else but using blocks, right? using something like a block made of metal or wood or stone and using it to engrave pattern cloth पे या किसी surface पे pattern, एक block या stamp use करके pattern बनाना, that is called lithography. ठीक है. So this is a description of Sukumar, right? And Sukumar, if you know, he died of leishmaniasis, is a disease, right? 9 years later, his classic collection Abol Tabol was published. This is basically very descriptive, so nothing very much to understand. And this, if you notice, the next slide is also a continuation of this description. So description of a little bit of how Satyajit Ray translated Sukumar's writing. So ये थोड़ा सा biographical type का description है. ठीक है. There's nothing much to बहुत ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है इसमें. बहुत ज़्यादा मीनिंगफुल नहीं है. इट्स मोर डिस्क्रिप्टिव, राइट? बट ओवरऑल अभी तक, इफ यू नोटिस, व्हाट इज द ऑथर इज सिंपली डिस्क्राइबिंग और गिविंग यू इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट सुकुमार सेन's राइटिंग. अभी तक इंफॉर्मेशन के अलावा, राइट, ही हैज नॉट गिवन यू एनीथिंग मच. ठीक है. देयर वाज सम अमाउंट ऑफ थोड़ा बहुत ह्यूमर था बिगिनिंग में, बट नाउ ही स्टार्टेड गिविंग यू इंफॉर्मेशन, नथिंग एल्स, राइट? नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में पता चलेगा क्या होता है, राइट? Satyajit Ray was 2.5, right? So it's basically like, he was, how did Satyajit Ray started? Satyajit was 2.5 when this whole thing, when was 2.5? When this Abol Tabol was published, right? So Satyajit translated, that means the father probably died younger, and he was, when the father died, Satyajit he was very young, so did not know him much. So he translated 10 poems, of course, later on, for a radical. What is the meaning of the word radical here? Radical means something that comes up with very new and very slightly controversial ideas, right? So new, innovative and slightly controversial. So that is the meaning of the word radical. Everybody is reading it, I hope. Right. Now the founder, so he translated 10 poems. So Satyajit to let him publish a limited edition which came up with a frontispiece. क्या होता है frontispiece? फोटोग्राफ क्या होता है? I'll tell you. देखो, हम जब किसी बुक का फर्स्ट पेज जब ओपन करो, राइट, जो बुक को फर्स्ट पेज जब ओपन करो, तो यहाँ बुक का टाइटल पेज होता है, यहाँ पे बुक का टाइटल होता है, इधर एक, दिस इज कॉल्ड द फ्रंटिस्पीस, राइट? सो बुक को व्हेन यू ओपन द फर्स्ट पेज, राइट, यू विल गेट दिस frontispiece. So frontispiece क्या है? Right, this is the frontispiece. ठीक है, right? So Kisanu, radical can be progressive. That is why I said innovative, new, innovative, and also slightly controversial. Whatever is new, whatever is innovative, whatever is progressive will also be, will also be a little bit controversial at times. ठीक है. सो आर्टिकल फुल ऑफ नहीं, रेडिकल डज नॉट मीन फुल ऑफ, राइट? रेडिकल वीकली मीनिंग द पब्लिकेशन वाज समथिंग व्हिच द पब्लिकेशन का जो आइडिया था, दे वर वेरी इनोवेटिव, न्यू एंड समटाइम्स कंट्रोवर्शियल, वेरी मच लाइक प्रोग्रेसिव. ठीक है. नाउ एवरीबडी अंडरस्टूड फ्रंटिस्पीस, समझ में आ गया? फ्रंटिस्पीस इज यहाँ जो बुक का जब हम फर्स्ट ऐसे ओपन करेंगे, राइट, लेट्स से when you open the book first page, यहाँ टाइटल होता है ऑन द राइट साइड, राइट, उसके बिल्कुल साइड में एक इलस्ट्रेशन जैसा पीस होता है, दैट इज कॉल्ड फ्रंटिस्पीस. सो बीमिंग, व्हाट इज बीमिंग? बीमिंग मीन्स वेरी हैप्पी. सो दिस इज बेसिकली ऑल डिस्क्रिप्टिव, नथिंग एल्स. ठीक है, ऑल क्लियर? So this is like, the Satyajit autograph 100 copies which are now collector's items, right? Those poems are also part of a new book called Three Rays. Three Rays कौन कौन है? Upendra Kishore, Sukumar and Satyajit. These are like the grandfather, the grandfather, the father and the son, all translated by Satyajit in its foreword. So Baba started translating. So this, Satyajit's son Sandeep is giving his information. Very descriptive, बहुत ज़्यादा कुछ, there's nothing much to understand, there's nothing much to focus on here. So far you are more or less speaking about how how Satyajit Ray started translating Sukumar Sen's, right? So let's see Sukumar Ray's writing को कैसे translate करते हैं. So अभी तक it is all descriptive, full of information. Author अपना opinion अभी तक नहीं बता रहा है. Let's see. right? There are many words. Read it. I have underlined many words which can, which can be confusing. यानी मैंने यहाँ even the word conjure, right? Conjure is something which you can also read, right? I hope all of you are reading it. सबको समझ में आ रहा, I hope. Okay. Now let's see. So years later, when Sampurna Chatterjee brought out Verdi Gurdi Boom, so this is again nothing else but one of the writings of Sukumar Ray, the nonsense world of Sukumar Ray. She says she relished. Relished basically means enjoyed. Okay, enjoyed the oral challenge. Arpit, Telegram ID is, मुझे भी ध्यान नहीं है, right? You can actually search by my name. My name is Sanoujam, right? Or better still, you can take my number. My phone number is this. ये देखो 9891584365. So you can contact me through this, no issue. Anyway, so coming back to the point, right? So relished basically means enjoyed, and oral is something which is connected to hearing, right? So oral challenge basically means hearing challenge, in the sense that the words are so, if for example wordy gurdi boom, right, it is more of a challenge to listen to, right? Because they are they focus a lot on sounds. Okay, right? Everybody is clear. Oral, something which is connected to hearing or listening. Okay, so if you say oral skills, it would mean listening skills. Okay, everybody got it? Now let's see. Now word play क्या होता है? Word play is nothing else but playing with words like this. Wordy gurdi boom. This is basically word play. Onomatopoeia क्या है? Onomatopoeia is a figure of speech in which you use a sound and make it into a word. For example, boom is an onomatopoeia, right? Now, in fact, Sampurna Chatterjee says that the word onomatopoeia cannot capture the riotous kabudal. Kabudal means collection. So kabudal is nothing else but collection, right? Why does he say riotous? Riotous because it is not properly in order. It's chaotic, right? So it is chaotic because wordy gurdi boom, for example, right? Is it something which follows a particular system, or is it all chaotic? So this is, so riotous, so it's like a big range of things which are not properly arranged, right? In the sense that it is full of chaos in a good way. It is not taken as a negative, right? So the effects that Sukumar Ray conjures up. Conjure is basically to produce a trick like a magician. So Sukumar Ray comes up with many words like this, comes up with many instances like this, and it is difficult to capture all his skills, all his techniques by using the word onomatopoeia. So now if you notice, the author has started praising Sukumar Ray. Do you notice now? So using the words of Sampurna Chatterjee, the author has started praising Sukumar Ray, right? His wide range, though he might be using, his creations can be very quirky, right? I mean, they are very creative. Though it might be nonsensical, they're very creative. Okay, right? And if you notice, even the translation, they go, come happy fool, whimsical cool, come dreaming, dancing, fancy free. No, whimsical cool, right? I mean, what is this whimsical? Clear ही नहीं है ना? It's like, देखो, this is like nonsensical poetry, right? Come mad musician, glad musician, beating your drum with glee. glee means happiness. And if you notice, these are all words which seem nonsensical, right? Whimsical, cool. Whimsical means, right, very impulsive, but then the overall sense is something which creates a very nonsensical effect. As I told you, it is like Alice in Wonderland जैसा. ठीक है? Everybody is clear? Yes. Now, moving on. Now, next slide, if you notice, right, first line I would like everybody to read together so that you do not, not miss it out. So, the author has started praising Sukumar Ray. Sukumar Ray के जो creations है, they might sound nonsensical, but they are very creative also. ठीक है? And if you notice, this शुद्ध देसी glee मतलब happiness, right? So it is like pure happiness, which is desi also, right, has ensured Sukumar Ray has never gone stale. Stale matlab rotten. That means he always remains fresh. Okay. Arati, riotous, basically is derived from the word riot, right? So you say, I'll give you an example. A riot of colors क्या होता है? What is a riot of colors? इससे समझ में आएगा. आरती, what is a riot of colors? मतलब suppose if you have a page और उस पेज में बहुत सारे colors mix कर दो, it becomes a riot of colors. So उसी तरह सुकुमार रे की राइटिंग भी riotous है, मतलब बहुत सारे कलरफुल, बहुत सारे चीजें एक साथ रखा हुआ है, कोई खास ऑर्डर या कोई खास रूल नहीं है. So that is what he means by riotous. Understood now? Is it clear? Clear है? Riotous का मतलब समझ में आया अभी? So that is what we can take it to be like. ठीक है? So the author has now started praising Sukumar Ray. ठीक है? So this शुद्ध देसी glee has ensured Sukumar Ray has never gone stale. Sukant Chaudhary points to Jogendra Sarkar, right? So whose his books, like his humor is predictable. So Sukant Chaudhary says that when it comes to Jogendra Sarkar, his humor is predictable, simple inversion. The grass is simple inversion basically means when you turn something upside down. For example, grass is blue, the sky is green. This is, he is telling you, so Sukanta Chaudhary is telling you Jogendranath kaise likhta tha. But when Sukumar writes, right, he writes about things which are very unpredictable. So Sukumar Ray's, nonsensical thing, it is unpredictable, right? I mean, humor written by Jogendranath Sarkar is predictable, right? But when Sukumar writes, why does the king's aunt play cricket with the pumpkin, right? So this is like very unpredictable and very creative. Okay, all clear, I hope. Shall we look at the next slide? Yes, right. So if you notice, there are many more slides. Let's try to read as far as possible. Jaldi se par lete, right? So why indeed? Now, if you notice with nonsense rhymes in the syllabus, what is nonsense rhymes? Nonsense rhymes would be nothing else but the rhymes written by Sukumar Ray. It's basically the name of a book, his creation. Students have to actually ponder. Ponder means worry. So we'll have to think deeply. Right. And look at these words, ponder, delve. Okay. Right. So let's see. सिद्धार्थ तिवारी, ओनली सुकुमार अंडरस्टैंड्स. ओके वेल इतना भी नहीं. सिद्धार्थ ऐसे देखो, लेविस कैरल सबने पर देखा है ना, एलिस इन वंडरलैंड, उस टाइप के राइटिंग. समझना ज्यादा नहीं, यू हैव टू सिंपली, इतना क्रिएटिव, इतना रिच जो है, जो भी चल रहा है, इट माइट बी नॉनसेंसिकल, लेकिन इट इज वेरी क्रिएटिव, इट इज फुल ऑफ डिटेल्स. सो दोज आर, दैट इज व्हाई इट इज गुड. इट्स ऑलमोस्ट लाइक, वैसे नॉनसेंसिकल तो मूवीज देखो, क्रिस्टोफर नोलन की मूवीज देखो, आधे do they make sense? नहीं, but still they make you think. So that is basically what he's speaking about. ठीक है? Clear? I hope everybody is clear. Right. So now, so why indeed? This is something which students will have to start worrying, because students have to study Sukumar's writings in the syllabus now. Right? What is the meaning of delve? Delve basically means to go deep into something. So delving is basically going deep into something. So she has to delve into the social context of the poems to make sense of the nonsense to a generation of students, many of whom know Sukumar chiefly through Satyajit. So if you notice, this is nothing else but the author is only telling you about how people will have to start looking at new things, right? Because many students know Sukumar chiefly through Satyajit. Now they have to start looking at him from a fresh angle because they have started reading him, right? Okay, now if you notice, let's do one thing, right? I'll just skip, a couple of slides. I'll just skip a couple of slides, right? Now, ये slides मैं इसलिए skip कर रहा हूँ because it's more or less very descriptive है, right? So let's read the last 3 slides, right? Now, ये जो पहले के जो 2 slides I'm skipping it because those are descriptive. It is about how the author describes the writings of Sukumar. Now, if you notice, abhi tak what have you started noticing? The author is praising Sukumar, right? His style of writing may be nonsensical, but full of details, right? Interesting, exciting, making you think, right? So, that is what he's telling you, right? So even before I could read, Sukumar Ray's magical illustrations sucked me in, right? So straight away, his magical illustrations are cartoon jaisa, right? So it sucked me in despite scary cudgel wielding monsters who simpered basically is like threatening. Okay, right. Now if you notice, he is telling you about as a boy, as a child, how was the author influenced by Sukumar Ray's writing. So just read it for some time, then we can understand, right? Okay. मुनावर इंडल्ज समझे नहीं, इंडल्ज मतलब किससे, इंडल्ज का मतलब समझे नहीं, आस्क अगेन, इंडल्ज का किससे रिलेटेड कर रहे हो, नॉट रियली श्योर, राइट? सो सुकुमार्स राइटिंग्स जो है, हिज क्रिएशंस आर वेरी मैजिकल, राइट? सो sucked me in basically means attracted, ठीक है? Despite, what is a cudgel? Cudgel is a thick, it's like a stick, right? It is basically a stick which is used for fighting. So cudgel wielding monsters who simpered meaning threatening, saying things in a frightening manner. To eat you alive is beyond me, I swear on 1,000 moons, right? So as a boy, I would while away afternoons with abol tabol, imagining ducks and porcupines fusing into porcuducks, porochards, duckupines, depending on your preferred translator. So he is telling you about the impact of Sukumar Ray on himself as a young child, right? I grew up like countless other Bengalis. I could recite with flourish. With a flourish basically means with the, with style, right? So here he basically means with a certain style मारना जैसे, ठीक है? The talents of Gangaram again, a creation of Sukumar Ray. The metric failed, that rhythm sickly yet eminently manageable room without understanding its social satire fully. So he is speaking about the impacts of Sukumar. Okay, खुशी like Lears. देखो Lear एक ये कौन है, right? It's a person. How do I know? So magical illustration. सुकुमार के जो magical illustrations है, they are like Lears. Lear is another writer. एडवर्ड लियर करके एक और इंग्लिश राइटर था. सो अगर ये मुझे नहीं भी पता हो तो यू कैन सिंपली अंडरस्टैंड दैट सुकुमार रे जैसा कोई राइटर होगा, राइट? उसके भी मैजिकल इलस्ट्रेशंस है. सो इट्स बेसिकली अ पर्सन, ठीक है? सो यू आर सेइंग हिज, इफ आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल, इफ आई से सचिन तेंदुलकर्स सेंचुरी वाज लाइक हमीश पटेल्स सेंचुरीज. हमीश पटेल कौन है? एक क्रिकेटर होगा. सो उसके सेंचुरी. सो आई एम जस्ट टेकिंग अ रैंडम नेम समथिंग लाइक दैट, ठीक है? अब समझ में आ रहा है? एवरीबॉडी अंडरस्टैंड्स नाउ. सो इन दिस slide the author is discussing the impact that Sukumar Ray had on the author. So he's telling you, he is very famous, right? I mean, especially among children. But then there is also a hidden meaning. There is a social satire also. What is a satire? Satire is basically in a kind of humor that brings out the society's mistakes through humor. Everybody understood, I hope? सबने पढ़ लिया? Shall we move ahead? Shall we go ahead? Yes, right. Next slide is this. So there are just 2 more slides left. I'll give you time to read this. Focus on this. focus on what I've underlined. Okay, now, so the author is now, he is basically praising, looking at the impact that Sukumar Ray, right, has on him, right. So hardly 5-6 lines. I think everybody should be able to read. Once you're through with this, we will go through it quickly. Yes, everybody is reading, right. So, Nikki, I'm marking the words, right. I'm underlining them, right. In fact, when you read it, you will be very easily able to understand. मैंने ये भी नोटिस किया है, अगर मैं हाईलाइट बहुत करूं तो लोग सिर्फ उसी को पढ़ते हैं, उसी वर्ड को. दैट इज वाई. सो पूरा पढ़ लो. व्हेन यू रीड यू विल बी एबल टू फाइंड आउट. ठीक है. जानवी कैप्रिशियस सब बता रहा हूँ, एक मिनट. सिल्वर फिश, रिडल्ड, नॉस्टैल्जिया पता है. Capricious, subversive version, these are all words which you may not know. Let me tell you. देखो, let's see. In adulthood, I keep returning to Sukumar Ray, not just for silverfish riddled nostalgia. What is nostalgia? Nostalgia is remembering the past. Past को याद करके, right? दुखी और सुख और दुख का जो एक mix emotion होता है, that is called nostalgia. Right? What is silverfish? Silverfish is a kind of insect that you find in old books. So he's saying, बचपन में मतलब बड़े होके भी he kept on reading Sukumar Ray, not just for remembering all the things, but for the poems, right? Because the poems, they offer something more capricious. What is capricious? Janvi was asking. Capricious basically means not decided. कभी कुछ सोचना, कभी कुछ और सोचना, मतलब not having a fixed mind. ठीक है. So the poems offer capricious version of reality, मतलब not made up one's mind. कभी कुछ that is कभी कुछ सोचना. You desire something, then it's like the person says, I want to marry this woman, right? Then after some time he says, नहीं, not this, another one. So that is capricious. ठीक है. So not being able to make up one's mind. So this is an offer. This is what the feature of the poem is, right? And what is subversive? Subversive basically means when you turn things upside down. So reality को बिल्कुल उल्टा पुल्टा कर देता है. And capricious भी है. Capricious मतलब it is not predictable. ठीक है. All clear, I think, right? Yes, Janvi, it is very much like fickle. Fickle से बहुत similar है. ठीक है, right? And if you notice, in the last line we know, as in rule of 21. Rule of 21 क्या है? एक poem होगा, right? Wherein Lord Shiva's native land, the laws are hard to understand, or as Chaudhary translates it. So what is going to come next is a translation of Sukumar Ray's poem. The poem is Rule of 21. उसका एक small part होगा which he will show you, which we will read in the last part. ठीक है, right? Now let's see. So this is nothing else but the poem. Just look at this. So this is nothing else but a translation of Sukumar Ray's poem. Just read it and see. So Arpit, correct, right? So stability नहीं है decision में, so that is basically right. So decide करके मतलब fix नहीं रह पाना, that is called being capricious. Right. So you know what you're reading. This is a translation of the poem. Let's see how it looks like, and this is the last ending, you know. And there are words which you will notice, right? Lease तो सबको पता होगा, right? Admonition you may not know, ठीक है? Snuff क्या होता है? Rammed up, I'll explain, ठीक है? Riley. So these are words which you might. Grimly, these are words which you may need to know. Admonition you will need to know. snuff you will need to know, right? But do not focus only on these words. वैदेही सबवर्सिव का मतलब क्या होता है? उल्टा पुल्टा कर, जो नीचे है उसको ऊपर रखना. सो सबवर्सन ऑफ रियलिटी मतलब रियलिटी को बिल्कुल उल्टा पुल्टा कर देना. सो दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ, दैट्स द मीनिंग ऑफ सबवर्सन. ठीक है, राइट. लेट्स सी. So if you notice, let's start reading. You will also need a special lease till 6 o'clock to cough or sneeze. Well, I mean, lease is like an agreement. Okay? So you will need a special lease till 6 o'clock to cough or sneeze. And those who sneeze without permission are trashed. Trashed matlab punished or beaten up. In gentle admonition. Admonition basically means scolding. ठीक है. सो यहाँ पे ट्रैश का मतलब, ट्रैश क्या होता है? बीटन अप. यहाँ पे पनिशमेंट की तरह यूज किया जा रहा है. ठीक है. सो दोज हु स्नीज विदाउट परमिशन आर ट्रैश्ड इन, आर punished by scolding. And 21 compelling doses of snuff. स्नफ क्या होता है? पुराने मूवीज में देखा होगा, तंबाकू नोज में ऐसे करके सूंघते हैं ना, तंबाकू, नॉट कोकेन, राइट. पुराने मूवी में देखा होगा. ये थोड़ा ओल्ड प्रैक्टिस है, राइट. सो he is telling you that this is the poem. I mean, there is not much of a sense in it, so he is only giving you a taste of the poem. ठीक है. So admonition is reprimand or scolding. ठीक है. Now I keep thinking of this poem these days when I read the news. कौन सी news? That Sukant, read the news. So whenever you read the news, you keep on thinking about this poem, because whatever is happening nowadays does not make any sense. So it's like a satire on what is happening in the world. So Sukanto Riley, what is the meaning of Riley? Riley basically means in a way that is humorous, right, but without showing any emotions. I'll tell you why. Wry humor क्या होता है? Wry humor is when the person who is joking, he himself will not show any emotion. So it will feel like he's very dry, emotionless, but the effect will be humorous. So that is what you mean by wry. ठीक है. जानवी, स्नफ का मैंने अभी तो बताया था. स्नफ क्या होता है? टोबैको होता है, जो पुराने जमाने में लोग ऐसे हाथ में लेते हैं और इसको ऐसे ऐसे करके सूंघते हैं ना, दैट इज कॉल्ड स्नफ. ठीक है. सो पनिशमेंट फॉर स्नीजिंग इज 21 doses of snuff. So सुकांतो चौधरी सेइंग दैट आजकल न्यूज पढ़ के ये इस चीज का याद आता है. दैट मीन्स व्हाट एवर इज हैपनिंग इन द वर्ल्ड इज नॉनसेंस. ठीक है, राइट. नाउ लास्ट लाइन देखते हैं. स्पेशली इन दिस 21st century of the 21st century, 21st year of the 21st century, this is basically आजकल का जमाना. Even the sons of Rangaru might be grimly amused. Grimly क्या है? Grimly means seriously, right. And sons of Rangaru क्या है? The creatures who are actually fictional creations of, they are like animals which are fictional creations of Sukanto Ray, and they are not allowed to laugh. So that way the author is ending with the sense that though it might be nonsensical, they are humorous and they can apply, they are timeless, right. The meaninglessness that he wrote in his poems are very similar to what happens in the real world. ठीक है, right. Arti, admonition is a noun, correct, right. So with that we come to the end of the session. I hope all of you understood, right. Idea is very simple. We should once in a while read such what they call such articles also, because you need to challenge yourself. You need to keep on reading things which might be new, so that anything is thrown at you, you should be able to absorb it and you should be able to make sense of it, right. So these are the upcoming courses. You can plan your buying of the super subscription accordingly, right. And these are your experts, people who take classes in Gradeup, right. And understandably, all of you know about the Gradeup super subscription plans. Now you can subscribe for two, roughly two broad categories. One for 2021, one targeting 2022. So the features you can see very easily there, right. And you also know by now that if you buy Gradeup super subscription, for your period of subscription you will get free internet. And be sure to register for this all India free mock. Attend it, you take it, and see how prepared you are for the actual exam, right. So with that, we come to the end of the session. I will meet you again tomorrow. So let's continue with this process of introducing ourselves to different types of writing, so that whenever anything is thrown at us in the exam, we will not be caught by surprise. So that is my intention. Thank you. See you again tomorrow.